Have you ever bought something you didn't really need and somehow convinced yourself it was a smart decision? Maybe it was a new phone, a designer watch, a luxury car, or simply something that felt impossible to resist. At the time, the purchase made perfect sense. You had reasons, you had explanations, you had a story, but a few weeks later, something strange happened. The excitement disappeared, and the money was gone. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most financial mistakes aren't caused by a lack of intelligence. They're caused by the stories we tell ourselves. Stories that feel logical, stories that feel reasonable, but stories that quietly keep us from building wealth. And today, we're going to uncover some of the biggest psychological traps that influence the way we spend, save, and invest. Because once you see them, you'll start noticing them everywhere. The "I deserve it" trap. Imagine it's Friday evening. You've had a difficult week. Your boss was annoying, your inbox never stopped growing, and you're exhausted. So you decide to reward yourself. Maybe it's a nice dinner, maybe it's a shopping spree, maybe it's something you've been looking at online for weeks, and you tell yourself, "I deserve it." Now let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. The problem is when rewards become automatic. Because the brain is incredibly clever, it can turn almost any desire into a justification. Bad day? You deserve it. Good day? You deserve it. Got a promotion? You deserve it. Didn't get a promotion? You definitely deserve it. Over time, this pattern becomes dangerous, not because of one purchase, but because of hundreds of purchases. Small decisions repeated over years create financial outcomes, and most people never notice the pattern. The new phone illusion. Let's talk about something almost everyone has experienced. A new phone launches. Suddenly it's everywhere. YouTube reviews, TikTok videos, Instagram ads, friends talking about it, and something strange happens. Your perfectly good phone starts feeling old. Yesterday it was fine. Today it feels outdated. But what actually changed? Usually nothing. Your phone still makes calls, still takes photos, still works perfectly. The only thing that changed was your perception. This is one of the most powerful psychological tricks in modern marketing. Companies don't just sell products, they sell dissatisfaction. They convince you that what you already have is no longer enough. And once that feeling appears, spending becomes easy. Why social media makes you spend more? 100 years ago, people compared themselves to their neighbors. Today, they compare themselves to millions of strangers. Every day you open social media and see luxury vacations, new cars, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, beautiful homes. But here's the problem. You're comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel. You don't see their debt. You don't see their stress. You don't see their financial problems. You only see the finished product. And the brain starts asking dangerous questions. Why don't I have that? Why is everyone doing better than me? Why am I behind? These thoughts create pressure, and pressure often creates spending. Not because we need something, but because we want to feel like we're keeping up. The sale trick. Imagine walking into a store, you see a sign, 50% off, limited time, today, only. Suddenly your brain becomes excited. You feel like you're saving money. But are you? Here's a simple question. Would you have bought the item if it wasn't on sale? If the answer is no, you didn't save money. You spent money. This sounds obvious. Yet millions of people fall into this trap every day. Retailers understand psychology incredibly well. They know urgency creates action. That's why you constantly see last chance, ending soon, limited stock, flash sale. The goal isn't to help you save, the goal is to help you buy. And often it works. Why investors panic? Imagine investing $10,000. At first, everything goes exactly as planned. The market rises. Your account grows. You open your investing app more often. You feel confident, maybe even a little smarter than everyone else. Then one day, the market drops. 5%, 10%, then 20%. Suddenly, every headline becomes negative. Experts on television start predicting recessions. Friends begin talking about selling. And something fascinating happens. The exact investment you loved a few months ago suddenly feels dangerous. But why? The company didn't necessarily change. The long-term plan didn't change. The investment itself may not have changed at all. What changed was your emotional state. And this is where many investors make their biggest mistake. Human beings feel the pain of losing money much more strongly than the pleasure of gaining it. Psychologists call this loss aversion. But you don't need to remember the term. You only need to remember the behavior. When prices rise, people feel safe. When prices fall, people feel afraid. Ironically, this often causes people to buy high and sell low, exactly the opposite of what they intended to do. The market hasn't defeated them, their emotions have. And the investors who succeed over decades usually aren't the ones with the highest IQ. They're the ones who remain calm when everyone else is panicking. Lifestyle inflation. Let's imagine you receive a raise tomorrow, not a huge raise, just enough to make life more comfortable. At first, you're excited. You tell yourself you're finally getting ahead. Maybe now you'll save more, invest more, build wealth faster. But then something subtle happens. You move into a slightly nicer apartment. You start eating out more often. You upgrade your phone. You subscribe to a few new services. Maybe you replace your car sooner than planned. None of these decisions seem unreasonable. In fact, each one feels small. The problem is that they rarely happen alone. They happen together, and before long, your lifestyle has expanded to match your income. A year later, you look at your bank account and wonder something surprising. Why don't I feel richer? Because your income increased. But so did your spending. This is one of the most common financial traps in the world. Many people spend years chasing higher income, only to discover that their financial stress followed them the entire way. The wealthy understand something different. When their income grows, they don't immediately upgrade their lifestyle. They upgrade their assets first. They allow investments to grow. They build financial cushions. They create future income streams. Only then do they increase spending. And that small difference, repeated over decades, can create an enormous gap between two people earning the same salary. The biggest lie about wealth. Let's finish with one of the most dangerous beliefs about money. It's a belief that millions of people carry for years, maybe even decades. The belief sounds like this: if I just earned more money, all my financial problems would disappear. At first, it sounds reasonable, and sometimes increasing income genuinely helps. But income alone is rarely the complete answer, because we've all seen examples that don't fit the theory. People earning $50,000 struggling financially. People earning $100,000 struggling financially. Even people earning $200,000 struggling financially. How is that possible? Because money doesn't automatically solve behavioral problems. A bigger income doesn't fix impulsive spending. It doesn't fix poor investing habits. It doesn't fix comparison. It doesn't fix emotional decision making. In many cases, it simply gives those problems more room to grow. Think of money as an amplifier. If your habits are strong, more money helps. If your habits are weak, more money often makes things worse. That's why some people quietly build wealth on ordinary incomes, while others earn impressive salaries and still feel trapped. The difference is rarely visible from the outside, but it's visible in the choices they make every day. The truth is that wealth is not built by one big decision. It's built by thousands of small ones. The purchases you make, the habits you repeat, the emotions you control, and the stories you choose to believe. Because in the end, the biggest financial battle isn't happening in your bank account, it's happening in your mind. Most people think money problems are income problems, but that's not always true, because two people can earn the same amount of money and end up with completely different financial lives. Not because one is smarter, not because one is luckier, but because they make different decisions. The truth is that wealth is rarely destroyed by one big mistake. It's usually destroyed by hundreds of small ones. The impulse purchase, the emotional decision, the need to impress others, the belief that more income will magically solve everything. Over time, these small choices compound, just like investments do. And that's why the biggest financial battle isn't happening in your bank account. It's happening inside your mind. Because the way you think determines the way you spend determines the way you save, and the way you save determines the way you invest. Change your thinking, and your financial future can change with it. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Wealth Principles for more insights on money, investing, and financial freedom. And let us know in the comments, which psychological money trap do you think affects people the most?